Matt, real quick, I have this last question for you. Was that targeting at the end of the game in that TCU Michigan game? Was it targeting?
It may have been, but if I'm the ref, I wouldn't have called it.
Can't call it.
It's
Can't
like
call it.
It
it's
was a
like when a
hundred
guy,
percent.
it's like in basketball, a guy's like out of control or something. It's like, yeah, you may have been fouled, but like you just kind of you were out of control. I don't want to bail you out with a foul call. It's like this game
I
is
agree.
over. Like 4th and 10, season on the line, and you fuck up the snap and you just like it's that play was just a colossal failure. It's not like Michigan
it's
earned.
rewarding bad play. It's
It
rewarding
kind of
bad play.
is.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Los.
What's going on with y'all? It's your boy Jo.
Hey, we got a special episode here for y'all today, man. Jo, go ahead, take it away.
Hey man, we got a great episode coming to y'all. We're gonna chop it up about some college football. We got a special guest here right now. His name is Matt Green. He's a co-host on the Chase Thomas podcast. He's a college football expert. This guy knows it all from stats to the history, everything. So we're happy to have this guy here on SSN. So go ahead, talk about yourself, Matt. Let him know. Let him know.
I appreciate the intro, man. I'm glad to be back. Was the second time I've been on with you guys talking, chopping it up, as you might say, on the Stoner Sports Network. But yeah, man, I'm just, I'm a big college football guy, Georgia Bulldogs through and through. But
If you couldn't tell, you see all the Georgia stuff behind him. He's a big Georgia guy.
We're just winning championships in Georgia right now. I don't know if you're aware, the Braves, Georgia. We had a lot of these,
Hey,
good but not great.
You're just
years.
gonna casually leave out the Falcons and Hawks, huh?
Nah, man, those aren't my squads. I don't rep them. I just I rep the Braves of Georgia pretty much.
Fair enough, man. But we're definitely happy to have you on, man. It's always nice to have a guest on, and especially a college football aficionado such as yourself, man. But we got a lot to talk about today.
If you guys couldn't tell by all the Georgia gear, the helmet, and all that stuff behind him, he is a big Georgia guy. He's put up with some bad Georgia years, the good Georgia years, and now they're in the championship years, and I know he's very excited about that. Before we get into that Georgia-Ohio State game, I want to talk about the TCU Michigan game, the other game, playoff game that happened. And just from my perspective, that was a very, very wild game, a very exciting game, and I learned a lot about both of those teams in that game. One thing I learned is that Michigan can play a different brand of football. I thought that they could only win if the game was going their way, playing power football, running the ball, controlling the clock, stuff like that, playing defense. And I didn't think that they could come from behind. I didn't think they were a team that could show that. I didn't think they were a team that could play that style of football. When they got down big, I thought the game was over. I talked to Los at halftime. It was 21-6. We were talking about how bad Michigan looked. And that third quarter was one of the wildest quarters of football I've ever seen. And Michigan fought all the way back. And even had a chance with that late targeting call. If they get that call, who knows how the game ends, but they did end up losing. But I was surprised by Michigan and how they played. Also surprised by TCU, who I feel like a lot of people didn't think belonged. Or obviously they belonged because of their record and how everything finished, but a team that people didn't think could compete against the top echelon teams, and they won the game. They went out there and played a great game. So I was shocked in both of those things. What'd you think, Matt?
I feel like TCU's been disrespected like all year long. Like people just kind of been waiting for like the other shoe to drop.
Before you get into that, you disrespected TCU as well. So don't just say people. You did too.
How did I disrespect TCU? Like I picked them to cover against Michigan. Like I definitely like. I feel like a lot of people were talking about. A lot of people were talking about them just getting blown out by Michigan, though. I don't feel like many people were really giving them a chance. And like Michigan, like. As good as they were the number one run defense in the country coming in this game, and TCU, like even with Kendra Miller going down, like they kind of ran all over them. They saw a style, with TCU that they hadn't really seen all year. Like Ohio State's probably a better offense, but I mean they're both really great offenses. But to see like a quarterback like Duggan, who actually is going to be such a part of the running game, and he gets those like Tebow, like those hard yards too, like lowers his shoulder type stuff, but. Yeah, I mean, after that opening possession, I think Harbaugh deserves a lot of blame, honestly, for that game, because after that opening possession, like you're Michigan, you're the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line and everything. Like you drove right down the field, like you got 4th and goal from like the 1 or the 2, whatever it was. Like that's when you test their manhood. You're like, we're Michigan, like we're gonna run right at you. Worst case scenario, we get stopped, you got to drive 99 yards on us. But like to do the little Philly special type cute stuff and and it just failed horribly. It's like you're pulling out a trick play on the first possession of the game. Like this is when you're like kind of setting a tone to your team that like, I believe we can get a yard. We can just out physical this team, because that's where TCU had the advantage, was the speed. But in terms of like the strength up front, like Michigan had to have the advantage there. So I feel like early on that kind of set the tone that like, and kind of gave TCU that belief like, oh, we can play with these guys.
And no, I definitely agree with you 100% there. And a big thing for me in that game was Duggan didn't have a great game. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, and we've never seen him, especially this season. That was the lowest completion percentage I believe he had the whole season. So looking at it from that aspect as well, I feel like Michigan, like you said, they weren't taking the game serious. Harbaugh wasn't taking the game serious, and that goes back to the disrespect TCU has been facing all year. But I thought it was crazy that if you would have told me that Max Duggan was going to throw 3 interceptions in this game, I would have said there's no way they win. So again, that's an indictment on Harbaugh, I believe, for sure, that TCU continued to turn the ball over like that, gave Michigan opportunity after opportunity, and Michigan, which is unable to capitalize.
And if you look at, I mean, it kind of did set the tone, because Donovan Edwards had 3 carries for 60 yards on that first drive. He had 20 for 59 the rest of the game. So like TCU, and obviously you throw 2 pick sixes, like that kind of masks how well Michigan really did do offensively. Because I mean, Michigan had over 500 yards on TCU. Like their offense was getting kind of just,
they were getting busy,
up and down the field. But but those 2 pick sixes, like that, those are big time plays they made.
Exactly.
And I agree with your point. I definitely think that opening drive, when they drove down the field and they were running the ball like crazy, you just thought like, okay, this is going to be easy for Michigan. And I don't know for what reason Harbaugh decided to do that Philly special, but like you said, I think that completely changed the game, and it swung the momentum to TCU. Like, oh, we can play with these dudes. We just, we got this stop, and then they drive down and score, and now it's like, okay, now we're really here. It gave them a different belief in that football game, and it carried throughout the game. Even late in the game, they still believed they got the defensive stop that they needed to win the game. So I think that I do agree with you. I wouldn't blame Harbaugh, but I think that was a terrible decision. And like you said, McCarthy, he did have the 2 pick sixes, but I think he played a good game because he had to come back. He had to fight through that adversity, and he did. And he put his team almost in a position to win that game, which I don't know if many people believe that he could do that. He could be the reason throwing the ball that they win a high-scoring game like this. So I was surprised, just maybe because I'm an Ohio State fan and I don't have that same belief in McCarthy, but he played way better than I thought he would facing that adversity. Even I think they zoomed in and he talked to his parents and told them we're going to win this game. So I feel like his leadership in that game, his belief kind of led that team back. So I was surprised in that aspect. But shout out TCU, man. They played a great football game.
But that's a credit to Matt's point, though. Like that's an indictment on Harbaugh for you to have a quarterback, like you just said, that you wouldn't expect McCarthy to be able to bring you back with his arm, but he did. And I believe they came close to beating TCU in spite of Harbaugh in a sense. So like you said, shout out TCU, man. They got a big opportunity in front of them.
Matt, real quick, I have this last question for you. Was that targeting at the end of the game in that TCU Michigan game? Was it targeting?
It may have been, but if I'm the ref, I wouldn't have called it.
Can't call it.
It's like when a guy, it's like in basketball, a guy's like out of control or something. It's like, yeah, you may have been fouled, but like you were out of control. I don't want to bail you out with a foul call. It's like this game is over. Like 4th and 10, season on the line, and you fuck up the snap, and you just like. That play was just a colossal failure. It's not like Michigan
it's rewarding bad play.
It kind of is. It's like the game should be over right there. I mean, I don't know if that's a referee's job, but it's like for all intents and purposes, like game's over.